Let's start this video with a question. What's been your favourite minigame in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth? Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Joesephyr, and in today's video for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, we're talking minigames. Now there are a lot of minigames that are present in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and not all of them are winners, but the vast majority of them are, and they make up a great portion of the game. So I wanted to make a video that detailed my top 5 minigames out of all of them, and I would encourage you guys to tell me what yours are too. Now, while I obviously will be talking about mini-games in this video and not the main story of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I will still issue a minor spoiler warning here because there might be mini-games that you haven't yet played or you haven't explored to the same extent I have, having finished the game. So just be cautious going forward, and I will leave the spoiler warning up just in case. So we're going to dive right in with number 5 with Fort Condor. Now I know Fort Condor is a little bit of a cop-out answer considering that it was present in Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, but I think that the spice that's been added to Fort Condor for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth adds enough to make it a lot more engaging and worthy of being on this list. Having the hero units turn up as sort of trump cards as you're tackling the various difficulties of the game makes it really dynamic, and you have to pick and choose the timings of when you use those characters. There's a bit more wiggle room on how you play the game and how you can play it to your own strengths, but also the strategy of making sure you're choosing the right units to take into the fights is also present as well. I just thought that Fort Condor was built upon really well, and that's why I want to put it on this list. Number 4 on my list is going to be the Moogle Mischief or the Mog House minigames, and I'm not sure if people will agree with me on this one because there were times playing this minigame that I was awfully frustrated because the Moogles just would not go where you wanted them to go. But there was a real joy in the chaos in the later stages of the Moogle Mischief minigame, and I just really enjoyed the action-heavy minigame aspect to it, and you don't get more tonal whiplash from a JRPG than with mascots like the Moogles. And while I think that the Moogles design in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth is a little bit nightmare fuel-y, if you ask me, I really like how they're implemented into this game. Going and just strategizing and getting the Moogles to run into tornadoes so that you can pick them up and throw them at the house, which is very cathartic when they've been throwing whirlwinds at you the entire time, I just found really enjoyable. And realistically, the rewards for doing the Moogle Mischief minigame is actually really good. Getting more skill points for each of your characters unlocked is really useful, and to see Moogles coming back in a more limelight position than they have been in quite some time is really nice to see. From this point onwards, the minigames that I've chosen to put in the top spots here are primarily there just because of how much thought has clearly gone into every single aspect of these minigames. And so at number 3, I'm actually putting the piano minigame. So the pianos are something that we saw in the demo, and you could just sort of tinker about with it. And even from the demo on its own, people were just running with the ability to play the piano using the 2 thumbsticks on a DualSense controller. There's been so many tracks from Zelda, Metal Gear, of other Final Fantasy games, classical pieces that people have just drummed up using just the 2 analog sticks and the buttons on the DualSense controller. And I think that the ability for musicians to make content out of a minigame is something that is pretty spectacular. The minigame itself is actually fairly restrictive. There's only 6 or 7 tracks in the game that you can actually perform, and you need to get an A ranking on each one of those in order to get the maximum rewards from it. But the fact that you can take a minigame like this and just run with it, I think is absolutely fantastic. Number 2 is going to be Chocobo Racing. I'll just say that now. And one of the things I find really hilarious about Chocobo Racing in particular is that a full-blown game was released not that long ago, which was Chocobo GP, that this minigame kinda just does better. It's definitely not quite as many features as a full-fleshed like video game release like Chocobo GP had, but it feels a lot nicer to play. It doesn't have any of the janky microtransactions that game had to deal with, and it's just fun. Like, the amount of Mario Kart style references you have here, such as the items that you get, the different like cosmetic items actually adding stats to your chocobo, the different chocobos allowing for different abilities. There's a lot of customization available in chocobo racing, so you really can just kind of make your favorite chocobo and just go with it. If I have any kind of criticism for chocobo racing, it's that it's a little bit on the easy side. Like the second you start learning how to jump efficiently with the green chocobo, you kind of just win like every time. But it's so fun that I don't really mind that. And there are so many tracks. You have the gold and the platinum cup and all of that stuff to go through. You can waste hours just in chocobo racing by itself. I do want to give a special mention here to Gears and Gambits, because I think that that minigame has the potential to easily be in this list as well. However, I'll be really honest with you, and I haven't finished the hard mode versions of Gears and Gambits yet, so I can't really comment on the depth of how far it goes, but I think that the tower defense meets FF12 Gambit system is a really cool thing to have, and I really look forward to diving back into the game again so that I can finish it all off. Surprising absolutely nobody, number one is Queen's Blood, because it's fantastic. It's straight up fantastic. I actually have a long history with card games from years and years ago. I've actually been national champion for a card game before, and I actually have proof of it that I'll show on the screen here, so you know I'm not talking out my backside. And I genuinely think that Queen's Blood is the best Final Fantasy kind of mini-game card game that we've ever had. Triple Triad is fantastic, Tetramaster is shaky, but this blows like Triple Triad out of the water. The level of strategic planning that goes into this game and the amount of thought that goes behind each card, the deck building aspect of it is really fun. There's different types of decks that you can build, like whether you want to go for, you know, a self-buffing build, or like enemy destruction, or taking control of the board as quickly as you can to stop your opponent from moving. There's control, there's aggro, there's all sorts of ways in which you can play Queen's Blood. If anything, my only sadness with Queen's Blood is that it ended. Like, there aren't enough different people to play Queen's Blood with, and the final opponent is an interesting one, to say the least. But I loved Queen's Blood so much that I genuinely believe that this could be a physical product, and I would buy it. If a game like this is strong enough on its own mechanics alone that I don't necessarily need the Final Fantasy branding on that product to want to buy it, it's a damn good minigame. And realistically, who doesn't love collecting something, whether it's cards or weapons in the main game or chocobo gear or anything like that? Just having something to chase is always something that's really good in a game, certainly one of this size, and Queen's Blood actively makes you want to chase something that has nothing to do with the main game whatsoever. Obviously, there are side quests in which you are rewarded with Queen's Blood cards. You get more of them as you progress through the Queen's Blood storyline. It's just really well done, and honestly one of the best mini-games I've ever seen in a video game. So yeah, those were my favourite mini-games in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. As I say, I probably will make another video on which ones I feel didn't land quite so well. Basically, most of them involving chocobos and not racing them. And I'd love to know from you guys what your favourite and least favourite mini-games in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth have been. Of course, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on any future videos I might be making on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or anything else. And leave a comment as well, and if you're not sure what to say, just say the word algorithm. If you're really enjoying what you're seeing, then perhaps consider clicking on the link in the description box below to my Patreon channel, where you can get artwork made just for you, as well as a plethora of other benefits as well. And I'm very grateful to those of you who have already joined up. So with that note, I will love you and leave you there. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or if you have finished it already, you would enjoy it again like I plan to do. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye now.